Well, welcome to the Keeping It Israel podcast. And my guest today is a returning guest and a very good friend of mine, Isaac Karasenti. Isaac, welcome back.
Thank you, Jeff. It is such a great pleasure and honor to be back with you again.
Well, I appreciate that. And we have become good friends over the last few years. And I miss seeing you. I miss being there with you in Israel. And I think it's 2019 probably is the last time that we connected in person. But we're hoping that that is going to come to an end soon, right? That's some of what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get to talking about travel and what's happening in Israel right now, give us a little bit of a recap. We were just talking before we came on about some of your history and your family's history, and I think some of our viewers would love to hear about how you and your family came to the land of Israel and the deep roots that you have there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So my family name is Karasenti. Karasenti is a Spanish name. And originally the family came from the northwest part of Spain, Galicia. And you know that until 1492, there was a very big Jewish community in Spain, including my family. But in 1492, the Queen of Spain was Isabella. Her husband was King Ferdinand. They came to the Jews and say to them, right now we want everybody to convert to Christianity. All of you must become Catholics. Otherwise, you must leave Spain within 3 weeks. If not, we're going to kill all of you. Well, of course, the Jews didn't want to convert to Christianity, so most of them decided to escape, to leave Spain. Vast majority of the Jews ended up in Central East Europe. However, on the other hand, there were only 2,000 families that decided to return back to their homeland, which is Israel, without stopping in Europe or in Northern Africa. My family was among these 2,000 families. So my family arrived in Israel in 1492, and since then we are here. You have to understand that Israel back then was a very small place. There weren't so many cities, towns, and villages like today. In Israel, back then there were only 4 cities. Tiberias, which is by the Sea of Galilee, Safed, Upper Galilee, Jerusalem, and Hebron. So when my family arrived here, half of the family went to Tiberias, other half went to Safed. Nowadays, me and my close family, we live in Haifa, which is in the northern part of the coastline.
Excellent. I just love that history. It's extremely rich and actually speaks of the diaspora coming back to the land even before Israel became a nation, and your family was there to witness it all. Very, very cool history. Isaac, you're a tour guide, a Class A, #1, excellent, amazing, awesome tour guide. I know that's always how you introduce the bus driver, but that's also you. And we have loved and enjoyed being able to travel under you, and also have you on the TV show a number of times. And the reason we wanted to talk to you today, you and I spoke back in August on a podcast about Israel and what's happening with the pandemic and travel and all of those kinds of things. And we wanted to just check in with you today and find out what's your perspective on what's coming. We've heard some news this week. And so share with us just a little bit. First of all, share what this last year and a bit has been like for the tourism industry and for you as a tour guide.
Thank you. So the last year was, from tourism point of view, was a disaster, catastrophe. Because from March 15, 2020, until now, until this very moment, we didn't have even one working day. We were still at home unemployed. All of the tour guides, bus drivers, hotels were closed until a few weeks ago. Restaurants, gift shops, everything. All of the tourism was completely dead from March the 15th, which is more than a year. But when the pandemic began, not only tourism, also many other places in Israel shut down, like factories, schools. Only today, we opened in 100% all of the schools in Israel. Until today, most of the schools were closed. They opened on and off. When the number of new cases increased, we closed the schools. Then we opened for a week. Then we closed on, off. And it was terrible. Also, the situation in Israel was very bad because in the very beginning, we didn't know what to do. How to deal with this COVID-19, like in all other parts of the world. And the rate of unemployment in Israel reached up to 35%. We had, mind you, before the corona, rate of unemployment in Israel was a little bit more than 2%, 2.2%. Unemployment was in March 2020. In the summer of 2020, 35% of unemployment. We are talking about more than 1 million people in Israel lost their jobs. Now, the government helped a lot. So the government decided to pay all the people in Israel 70% of your average salary. I mean, okay, what is your average salary? We will pay you 70%, and they promise to continue to pay this until June of this year, 2021. And then we lead from one closure to another. But thank God from December, with the vaccine, you see how things in Israel started to improve dramatically, very, very fast. The first vaccinations of Pfizer arrived Israel in December. In the very beginning, Israelis were extremely suspicious. But one good thing we can say about our leaders, all of them gave a very good example. For example, the first one who got the vaccine was our prime minister, alive, Saturday night, in front of TV. He said, here is my arm. Here I'm going to get the vaccination to show you no conspiracy. This is 100% safe. And our president and other ministers. So people started to believe. It was quite difficult, but within a week, everybody started to realize that that's it. Then they gave the priority. People from the age of 70 and older were the first ones, etc., etc. Me, for example, I got vaccinated in January. The first and the second shot in January. And since then, Ministry of Health didn't believe. But since then, you see how every day the number of new cases has decreased. So from the end of January, slowly, we started to come back to normal. You see many people return back to their jobs. You see how factories that were shut down opened again. Public transportation, they worked on half capacity, now 100% capacity. Offices, all they were closed, or people, Zoom. People were working from their homes. Now everybody is back to the offices, to the factories, cinema, theaters, restaurants slowly started to open, because before that it was only takeaway. And you see more shops started to open. Unfortunately, last ones are us in tourism. Mind you, right now, all of Israel is open. Everything in Israel is open, one except of tourism. Tourism in Israel is still shut down. Even hotels were opened last month, and they work only with Israelis. And I tell you, it's amazing, because nowadays, if you want to find a room in a hotel in Israel, no matter if this is in the north or in the south, you cannot. All of the hotels are fully booked, because Israelis cannot go overseas. Many of them are dying to go on vacation. The only option to go on vacation is in Israel. So all of the hotels are fully
Right.
booked. And, we put very heavy pressure on our Minister of Tourism. I said it makes no sense. Everything is open. Well, what about us? And slowly, Israel started to allow Israelis to go overseas. So we said it makes no sense. Like if Israelis are going to places like Greece or France or England, okay? Over there they get mixed with the local population and come back to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Why not to let people from these countries that got vaccinated to come to Israel? So thank God, the miracle happened. Last week, they made a special announcement that from May 23rd, Israel will be open. Now, how Israel is going to be open?
Okay.
Right now, they gave a list of 8 countries that we are making agreements with these 8 countries. United States of America is one of them. Unfortunately, sadly, and from the bottom of my heart, sadly, Canada is yet not in this list of the 8 countries. But I believe that it will come soon. And the agreement says that only vaccinated people from these countries can come to Israel. In the very beginning, they are talking about groups, not individuals. Only organized groups can come to Israel. Now, only people that got vaccinated, this is number one. Number two, on top of that, 72 hours before the flight, even when you got vaccinated, you have to take a corona test. You arrive at Ben Gurion airport, you have to show the result of the corona test, which is negative, and you have to take a serologic test. This is a blood test with a needle from your finger in order to make sure that your body had reacted to the vaccination, to make sure that your body is healthy for this vaccination. And I don't know how it is going to be, because to make a blood test, how can you do this in the airport? But Ministry of Health insists to do this, and only when the results are final, then people can come to Israel. So far, they say that not any group can come to Israel. You will have to apply Ministry of Tourism and to fill the forms and to say, for example, my name is Jeff Features and I have a group, I want to come to Israel. And then they have to confirm your request, yes or no. Because I said that in the very beginning, Israel will allow 20, 30 groups per month to come to Israel, not more than that. Even let's say we will have 200 groups that want to come to Israel, no matter. The authorities will allow only 20 or 30 groups. So you apply, and then or they confirm or not. Now, all of this, we have to pray that no other variants in the world, because Ministry of Health said as soon that we will hear about a new variant of corona, maybe even in New Zealand, in India, I don't know where, then we stop, we cancel everything, we will close Israel again. So we hope that, this is, at least this is the beginning. At least this is beginning of something.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, this pandemic has been extremely unpredictable, for sure.
Yes.
And I say that because I know when we talked last August, we were, hopefully optimistic that maybe in November 2020 or
Yes.
at the latest, maybe March 2021,
Yes,
we'd be traveling back to Israel. And of course, that's not transpired. But it's been an interesting journey. Now, I have the Israel statistics fresh in my memory because I actually looked these up yesterday, and have been having some discussions on my social media feeds about them. But Israel in January, mid-January, your rolling average of new cases a day was 7,500 a day, new cases in mid-January. Today, after well over 50% of the population has been fully vaccinated, and most of the rest of the population has had at least one dose. That's kind of where you guys are at right now. Your rolling 7-day average for new cases is now only 180. And I believe yesterday there were only 34 cases, or Saturday there were only 34 cases. So these are the numbers that we're talking about. And I can understand. I can understand your government wanting to be cautious and careful because you have achieved pretty great success with the vaccination program. You know, they want to be cautious, not letting the virus
Not to
back into the
destroy this
country,
great
essentially,
achievement.
if you want to talk
Yes.
about it. Yeah, exactly. So I get all that, but I also understand that I'm desperate to come back to Israel, and there's so many that are waiting and wanting to be able to
Yes.
travel. It's interesting. You talked about all of the Israelis that are just dying to go on vacation, and so the hotels there are jammed with local people, and we fully understand that. I purposely I brought a prop because I purposely, when I got back from my last trip, not to Israel, I was in Los Angeles, I was in California in early March 2020. And I flew back, and it was within days after that everything here in Canada shut down. North America was, starting to figure out that this was a thing. And but I purposely left on my side table beside my bed, I left out my passport and my last boarding pass. I don't know if you can see that there, but look at the dust. Can you see the dust that's on
I
it?
see. Yes.
That's okay.
It's almost white.
That's dust.
Wow. I thought that the camera, something
It's
is
almost
wrong
white.
with the camera.
And I wouldn't let anybody touch it because I didn't want to, I didn't want to jinx at all my opportunity to travel again. So it's been sitting there for however many months. What is this now? 12, 13 months? And
Yes, 13 months.
I'm desperate to use it again, but we're hoping to come to Israel this year, God willing. I mean, that's
God willing.
really
Yes.
what we are hoping and praying.
Amen.
And probably not with a group this year. But hopefully by March next year, we're really praying that we can have a group, sort of an Israel only tour, come next spring.
Yes. Amen.
That's amazing, the sort of planning that has gone into this. I've been on a few calls with the Ministry of Israel Tourism, with our representative here in Canada, and with I think it's Gal Hannah, who is the tourism minister, or the representative for here, and so it's very, very hopeful, I guess, that we can get there again. So let me ask you this: you've been off work all this time. As a tour guide, what is it that you miss the most about guiding groups around your beautiful country?
Oh, I'm missing a lot. First of all, to see people, to talk to people from all over the world. I miss guiding, as a guiding. I miss showing them our beautiful country. But I tell you one thing: there are no tourists. But every week, I get into my car, and every week I go on a sightseeing tour by myself. And because I tell you, this year, on the other hand, was a great year for archaeologists. Because, mind you, everything is shut
Right.
down, so archaeologists can work very hard, what they cannot do in a normal year. And I can tell you that during the last year, here in Israel, we have a new amazing archaeological discoveries. Not only in remote places, when yet there are no roads, so you have to walk to get there. Even in places like Caesarea Philippi. Caesarea Philippi, you remember the entrance to the cave of the god Pan. over there, they discovered the remains of a
Yes,
Byzantine church. I'm sure that you read about it. So I went there to see it with my own
I
eyes.
did.
I talked to the archaeologists that were working there, or Herodium. I don't know when was the last time that you went there. If you will go there now, you will not recognize the site. It's amazing. So yeah, I miss a lot, to show Israel to people. But when you will come back, God's willing, this year, you will be amazed with how many new discoveries we have so far in Israel.
Yeah, I can't wait to come back. Actually, in 2019, we got into Herodian with one of the archaeologists from Hebrew University, and it was closed that day. We got in just with him, and he took us kind of behind the scenes. We actually got to see the theater and the gallery, the room that they found just above the theater where all of the officials would go and sit, and the beautiful frescoes. And we got to see that before it was open to the public. I don't know if it's been open to the public yet. Has it?
Yes, they open it in December. They open it to the public, but they
Just in
discovered a
December.
few new pieces of frescoes over there, pieces that describe the Actium battle, which is a very important battle in the history of the Roman Empire. They discovered inscriptions written by the builders that were building this room, and even some
Yeah.
inscriptions in Hebrew. Some of the builders most probably were Jews. And also, they exposed the main entrance, the original Herodian main entrance to Herodium, the main gate, and even the stairs that led from the foot of the hill
Yes.
all the way to the top. So now, when you come to Herodion, you don't take the old path. You go to the foot of the hill and you walk up the original Herodian steps to the Herodian gate. And through the
Awesome.
Herodian gate, this is how you make your way into Herodion. It is amazing. Yes.
You know what? That is amazing. I wasn't sure if they'd have that done yet. When we were there, we got to go in and see the stairs, but it was all still built up with support beams,
Yeah, with
and they
scaffoldings and
were
all
they
of
were
that.
still excavating. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait to come back and look. Um, what other archaeological discoveries in the last year? I mean, I'd heard about the Byzantine Church. I'd heard about Herodian. Have there been any other discoveries that you can comment on?
Yes, of course. You know the Philistines' city of Gath, hometown of Goliath. Then they made more excavations over there, and they found the remains of the wall and the remains of the city gate of Gath. Near Gath, it was only last year they found Ziklag. You remember when David came to Achish, the king of Gath, for the second time, and he said to him, "Send me to one of the fields cities." So he gave him a Ziklag. So they discovered a complete new city, Ziklag, where David stayed in the
Wow,
Besor Valley. Also, some amazing new discoveries and a few more important biblical sites.
phenomenal.
That's
That's
phenomenal. Yes,
that's the stuff we love to
to see.
that's the stuff we love to hear, the stuff we love to
Yes,
see and
yes,
learn about, because it helps to bring the Bible to life. It helps
alive.
to, helps Christians understand that what they read in the Bible is
It's true.
can be validated, and
Of
that's
course,
so important.
of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. Isaac, you're an amazing guy, and I came across somebody actually recently who I want to tell you about this connection, because we are about to our show is about to go on to a network called WLMB in Ohio, and a gentleman named Jeff Millingsgale was on a tour, and you were his guide a few years ago, and he came across one of our videos, you and me on YouTube, and he saw it and he said, "Hey, we want this for our Christian network." So my connection with you helped us to get onto a U.S. network with our television show. So I wanted to say thank you for that.
Yeah, welcome.
And
What a blessing.
he really enjoyed you as his guide.
Thank
Yeah,
you very
amen.
much. It's my
Amen.
pleasure.
Listen, yeah, you're getting ready, I guess, to welcome groups as much as will be possible, and I think that that's very, very positive, very exciting for Israel, and especially for your industry, the tourism industry. And so I want to wish you well and wish you all the best with what will be groups coming into the land. Now, 20 to 30 groups. Help me put this into perspective. 20 to 30 groups a month. What would the normal traffic have been, say, in 2019? How many groups a month would be coming into Israel?
I can tell you in 2019 in Israel, we had 4.5 million tourists. 4.5 million. Yeah, I have a calculator here. Let me make quick calculations. So let's make 4.5 million. Let's divide by 12 months. This is 375,000 tourists a month. Let's say average group, let's make it 30 people, divide by 30. So we're talking about 12,500 groups a month in 2019. From 12,500, we go down to 20, maybe 30.
Wow.
Yes.
And there's a lot of tour guides. A lot of tour guides will be vying for those 20 to 30 groups.
I tell you, this is tough. This is tough because sadly, I can tell you, I'm a member in our union. We have the tour guides union. During this year, more than 30% of tour guides in Israel left this profession for good. Some of them went to be school teachers, and that's it. They found good jobs as a teacher at school. They stayed, they will never come back. Many others, the youngsters, people in their 20s, 30s, they went to study high-tech, and they found good jobs in high-tech. They are doing very well. They will never come back. Some old guys, I don't need to offend anyone, but when I say old, people who are 63, 64 years old guides decided that's it, to retire, to go on early pension. In Israel, for a woman, 62, you go on pension. For a man, 67, you go on pension. So we lost more than 30% of tour guides in Israel. The others, like me, that still stay and pray. Yeah, now the competition will be, wow, this will be tough. Imagine to yourself, everybody at home more than a year. Now you will have only 20 groups a month. It will be crazy. It will be like the beginning of the Third World War, just for the chance to get a group. And we hope for the best, but what can you do? What can you do? And I tell you something else. It's a question, who came first, the egg or the chicken? Because last week, I decided to go and to visit the holy places. Because before that, I went to see all of the archaeological sites, new discoveries, as I told you. Last week, I went around the Sea of Galilee. My heart was crying. Jeff, every single holy place is closed. Mount of Beatitudes, Tapka, Capernaum, closed. River Jordan, Yardenit, baptismal sites, closed. Everything is closed. I went to Jerusalem. Okay, Jerusalem, must be open. Nothing. Most of the places are shut down. Gethsemane, I went to Mount of Olives. I got a culture shock. You remember Mount of Olives, the viewpoint? It is crowded 24/7.
Yes.
Jeff, I was there 1 hour by myself. Really, I was thinking about you. I said, why? If Jeff would come here, With your crew, you could make the whole show from Mount of Olives. I was there 1 hour alone by myself. I waited purposely 1 hour to see maybe someone will come. Maybe. Nothing. Gethsemane, open only 4 hours, 8 to 12. Old city, all churches are closed. Holy Sepulchre, open only Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's it. Garden tomb, only upon request. So I was asking myself, okay, if tomorrow, groups will start to arrive, what is going to happen? But I believe that as soon as groups will start to arrive, also sites will be open. I hope. It will take some time, but it will happen. Yes. But I tell you, never ever in my life I saw so many holy places closed. Even when we had wars in Israel, like, with Gaza, with Lebanon, Intifada, all of that, never ever it happened that holy places were shut down. Even when there were wars, everything was open. This is the first time in my life, that I see that the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is closed. Yes. So it will be tough, but we have to be strong and patient. It will come back.
Yeah, amen. We're praying that will be the case. And Isaac, thank you so much for sharing. You've given us such a great perspective on what's been happening in Israel and on what we can expect, I think, going forward. I think that's been amazing. And so we thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And appreciate you taking the time. And we hope that not next year in Jerusalem. I hope this year in Jerusalem I'll be able to come and take you out for a coffee, for dinner, something, so that we can reconnect and re-engage in Jerusalem. We look forward to seeing you again, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for tuning in to Keeping It Israel today. We hope you enjoyed the show and my conversation with Isaac Karasenti. Isaac's an amazing guy, and I want to share an illustration that he actually shared with me off camera that kind of gives you some perspective about what's happening in Israel. He said as tour guides in the tourism industry, they have felt like they've been literally in the desert for these last 13 months, kind of wandering in the wilderness. And he said, we can now see the oasis. We can see the water. We know that something good is coming, but there is a huge high fence between us and the water that we still have to climb. And so they're still facing some challenges, but we hope that you will be able to join us for a tour. Certainly in 2022, we are planning to host a tour in the month of March, and we would encourage you to watch our website. Remember, First Century Foundations is a ministry that exists to support the land and the people of Israel and to educate Christians about the Jewish roots of our faith. We're a charity, and we rely on your generous donations. If you like this podcast, if you like Keeping It Israel, then please consider giving. You can go to our website, firstcenturyfoundations.com, to learn about the many humanitarian projects that we support in Israel, and to find out how you can be a part of the critical work that we do. We thank you in advance for your giving. Your generosity is making a huge difference in many lives in the land of Israel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down in the lower right-hand corner if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are listening on one of our podcasting platforms, then please subscribe to our podcast there and share a review. That would be so helpful to us. We also encourage you to like us on Facebook, First Century Foundations, and look forward to engaging with you in the future and staying connected to you as well. Remember, the land and the people of Israel have a special place in God's heart and play a critical role in history. So more than ever before, as Christians, we stand with Israel.